Welcome, everybody. I wanted to record a short lecture to introduce you to Zotero, which, as is noted on this slide, is like your personal research assistant. It is a citation management software that you can download for free, you can use for free, and it'll make your collegiate experience so much easier because you will not have to spend a ton of time formatting sources for bibliographies. So I just want to introduce you to this tool that you can use. You do not have to use it for the project, but in case you do, this would be an excellent opportunity to learn how to do so. So there are just a few slides that I have here that I want to show you. And the first step is to get Zotero. So here is a website that you can access to download Zotero. So you want to go to this website and you'll want to do a few things. So you want to download Zotero itself. Then you want to download the Zotero web browser connector. And then finally, you want to create a free account. It is free. You do not have to pay for anything at all. I will show you in just a moment. I have a lot of sources saved in my personal Zotero account, over 1,000. And it wasn't until I got to over 1,000 that I started to have to pay for storage. And that is $20 for the entire year. So I do not expect any of you all to reach that level where you'll have to pay for it. So these are the 3 steps that you want to take. And there is a link here if you want a quick start guide. And if you have any issues with downloading, Zotero has a lot of instructions for troubleshooting. So we're just going to go to this website so you can see what it looks like. So when I click on this, it should give you 2 options basically. You can download Zotero, and I'm currently on a Mac, but if you are on a Windows computer, it'll say Zotero 8 for Windows. So you want to download that. Here's instructions on help, like if you have any issues. As you can see, there are lots of other options for Zotero that you can download. There's even now a version of Zotero, an app that you can download on your phone. And then just as importantly, you will want to download the Zotero connector. Now, I am currently in Chrome, which is why it's telling me to download the Chrome connector. But if you are using a different browser, the image here and the connector will change based on the web browser that you're using. So maybe Safari, Internet Explorer, although I think it's called something different these days. Maybe you're using Firefox. So this will vary just depending on the operating system and the web browser that you're using. So you want to download those, right? So that's step 1, and then create an account. Okay. Step 2 is once you have done all that, you will want to get ready to use Zotero by opening your desktop app. So I have mine open already, which is right here. So I currently have, as you can see, over 1,000 items that I have saved. I have not entered this information in myself. The web browser connector scrapes all of the metadata for your references for you. But what I have is essentially a database of a whole bunch of different articles and books and other resources. So, and I'll show you in a moment how this works, but once you use the connector to scrape an article's metadata, it will show this information for you. So it gets all of the information from the article, the authors, the publisher, if it's a book, the page numbers, the volume number, all of the information that you would need to include in a bibliography is going to be collected for you. Now, you can also do things like if there is a PDF it will save the PDF for you, and you can access the PDF directly from your desktop version of Zotero, right? You can also create like tags, like for example, so if you wanted to tag it in some way, you can tag it by the class. You can create different collections if you want to store your citations by class. So there's lots of ways that you can organize this information and also search for it. So that's like step 2 when we start to talk about how to use Zotero. All right, so let's go back to the slides. So what we're going to do, and as I've shown you here, right, you should be using Zotero on your desktop. And if you are curious, here is a link to a website on Zotero about how to search for sources and add them to your library through the connector. But I'll show you how to do that. So let's just say that we wanted to search for an article. Now I'm going to go to the Journal of Peace Research. This is one of my favorite journals that I use. I do a lot of research on conflict and political violence. So this is a peer-reviewed journal that I read quite often. And so I'm going to go to this journal. All right, and it's going to take a little bit to load. And for some reason, it's not loading the correct one, but that's okay. We're going to go to Journal of Peace Research. And I think it's because they have actually switched publishers. And so we can look at the latest issue, for example, right? So let's just say that I was interested in this article. So perceptions of the demobilizing effects of repression, right? So I'm going to click on this. And as you can see, I don't have access to this right now. If I was on campus, I actually would have access, because when you are on campus and you use like the say computers in the Murphy Library, or you log on through the UWL the network, you would have access to this. It would register that you are a UWL user, and we do have access to this particular journal, but I'm currently off campus, and so I don't actually have access to this right now. I could actually go to the Murphy Library, and I could request this article through interlibrary loan, which is very easy to do. We just search for it, and then if it's not available, then you can just hit a button that says request through interlibrary loan. Or if it's like a journal article, they will just find the journal article for you after you make that request, and then they'll email you a copy. Or if you're requesting a book, they will search for the book, they'll get it shipped to the Murphy Library, and then they'll let you know when you can pick it up. But in this case, I don't have access to the actual article, but that is okay. I can still scrape all of the information that I need for it if I want to make a bibliography. So I'm going to go to this little extension that I have, the Zotero connector, and I'm going to click on this. And this little window will pop up here, and it'll say saving to my library. And so I could also save it to a different collection if I wanted to, right? So I could filter, I could tag it. For now, I'm just going to save it to my particular library. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Zotero, and now what will appear here for me in Zotero is the article with its metadata. So all of its like citation data will appear here, and I can just double check that all of this is correct, right? So Zotero knows that this is a journal article. It's recorded the title, it's got all of the authors, it's got the publication, the date, the page numbers, right? All of the information that I need, including the abstract, right? And in this case, I do not believe that it's going to save the PDF for us because we don't technically have access to it. But if we did have access to this journal, I would save the PDF for us, right? So what this is doing is it's entering and saving all of the information that you need from your sources, so you do not have to type this out yourself, right? And so this is great. This is kind of nice, right? But this is not the best part of Zotero. So what the best part is, however, when you download Zotero to your desktop, when you create an account, when you go to like scrape information off the web and you build your database, then you can use the built-in Word plugin that will show up for you in your Word app on your computer after you download Zotero. So when you're downloading, you probably should close out of Word. And then when you open Word again after you've downloaded Zotero successfully, you will see this little Zotero tab come up here, right? So this should show up here. And now what you can do, and this is like the beauty of Zotero, this is where it's going to save you a ton of time, is let's say that you are writing a paper, right? You're writing a paper for this class, for example. And so I am going to paraphrase someone's idea here, and now I want to cite them. And this is actually something that you should do. It's something that I think most students know, but it's worth repeating. Yes, we all know that when you are directly quoting an article, you need to attribute that quote to the author or authors, and so you include the author's names in the citation. But when you are also using someone's ideas, when you're describing someone's ideas, you need to cite that person as well. So let's just say I paraphrase this author, right, and I want to cite them. And let me just go back to Zotero to just double check as to who it is that I'm citing. Okay, so it's Kreft et al. So I'm going to go back to Word, and I'm going to go to Add Citation, this little button here, right? And now this will give me a pop-up that will ask me which citation style I want to use. So let's just say that I want to use MLA, for example, right? So I'm going to hit OK, and then I'm going to look for the article. And what's nice about Zotero is it'll show me the last article that I looked at in my like desktop app version. And so I know that this is the one that I want, right? So I'm going to click on this, right? And then it's going to give me a chance to maybe add some other authors if I want. So let's just say that I wanted to add something from Kathleen Cunningham, right? So I type in Cunningham. I have a whole bunch of articles from both Kathleen, who's a political scientist, and her husband, David Cunningham, who is also a political scientist. And let's just say that I want to add this article, and oops, I made a mistake here. I accidentally clicked on them, so I don't want to add them. Let's say I want to add another Kathleen Cunningham article, perhaps this one, right? So now I'm done, and I click Enter. And Zotero is now integrating that information. And what I see is that it has included the citations here for me as an inline citation, right? So now I have Zotero using the MLA format that I selected, creating this very nice inline citation that allows me to reference the ideas of the authors without having to type this myself. And so this is fun, right? This is great. But let's just say that we also want to create a bibliography, right? So I'm just going to maybe say bibliography. Right? And now I click on this button here that says Add Edit Bibliography. And Zotero just knows, because it's been designed this way as a program, to add all of the references that I cited above in the MLA format for me. I don't have to do anything here. The only work that I've done is I have made sure that I scraped the data from the web where I found that information, that it was saved to my Zotero library correctly, and then I'm just adding it as I need, right? And so this is great, this is fun, right? But let's just say that you accidentally selected MLA and you really need a different format. That's not hard to fix. You just go back to those document preferences and you select a different style, right? Let's say that we wanted the American Political Science Association style instead. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go to OK. And now Zotero has changed for me all of my inline citations as well as the actual bibliography to match that style. And you can change the styles as much as you want, right? It is super simple. It is such a time saver because you do not have to type everything by hand. And a lot of these citation styles are very particular as to where you place a comma. Do you italicize something, right? Do you put a journal article in italics, or do you put it in quotation marks? So you don't have to worry about any of that. You can focus your time instead on where the actual effort is going to pay off the most, and that's in developing the ideas for your papers and writing them, right? So this is fantastic. It's not only available for Word, though. There's also a Google Docs plugin for Zotero. So I have the plugin already for Google Docs, and when you download it, so when I downloaded the Chrome connector, it should automatically, once you go into Google Docs, so make sure it's closed when you download everything, but then when you go into Google Docs, you should see the same type of Zotero option come up here, right? So let's say I want to add a citation. And so let's say I want to go and use, I don't know, let's say Chicago for some reason that I want to use. And then so it's a little bit slower when it comes to using Google Docs as opposed to using Microsoft Word. So it's just waiting. We're just got to wait a second. All right. And then we see that same drop down kind of pop up window where we can select different sources. So let's say I want Kreft again. Now let's say I want a different set of actors or authors rather. I don't know. Let's pick this article by Victor Asal. Let's look for maybe an article from Hannah Bernier and authors. And so it has added those citations in line for me. Again, let's say that I'm paraphrasing these authors' ideas, right? And I want to cite them. And then again, it's very simple to create a bibliography. You just go to add, edit bibliography. And it takes a little bit more time just because it's the web version, but it adds that bibliography for you, right? And just like you did in Word, you can change the document preferences if you want to unlink citations for some reason. It's all available to you, right? So the other thing that I just wanted to mention is you can also save the data for a book. So you, just like you do not need to have access to a full article to save and scrape that metadata, you don't need to have access to a book to be able to save it to your Zotero library either. So we're going to look for this book, The Politics of Self-Determination by Kathleen Cunningham. You can either look for the information on like a publisher's website, or you can search for it on Google Books. I tried using Amazon, but when you search for a book in Amazon and you use the Zotero connector, it tends to save it as a web page for you, so you actually don't get the correct data. So I wouldn't suggest using Amazon if you want to search for and save books in your references. I would try Google Books. I've not tried Apple Books, but probably Apple Books works as well. Or you can just go to the publisher's website. So let's try to search for The Politics of Self-Determination, right? So I'm going to look up The Politics of Self-Determination. And so I can either, now I know this is by Kathleen Cunningham, so I'm not going to go to this one. So I can either just go to here and scrape this information, right? And so Here's inside the politics of self-determination, and I'm going to go to my Zotero connector. And now it's going to give me an option as to what exactly I want to add. You just need to select this first one. If you select all of these, it's going to create entries for every single one, which you don't need. So you just need the one that says full book, hit OK, right? And then we can check, we can go back to Zotero and just make sure that it has saved it correctly. Okay, so see, now it's telling me that I have some kind of error, which does happen sometimes, right? Sometimes Zotero doesn't always save it correctly. And so I might then need to either click on this DOI to make sure that I have the correct metadata to use. Let's go back here and let's see if we can try to get this to work. Right, so sometimes this will not work, and that just kind of happens. So let's go back and see if this is. All right, so this is not saving it, which is actually okay because this is not the only option for getting this book. I can go to inside the politics of self-determination Google Books, and I can search for this on Google Books, and now I can try to scrape this data from Google Books. All right, and perfect, right? So you can see this time it worked. Let's just go back to Zotero and double check. Yep, it saved it as a book. Now, I actually already have Kathleen's book, and I've done this little Zotero demonstration a few times, which is why you see 4 different entries for the same book here. But it's collected all of the information for me. It's got an abstract, right? I can put it into a collection. I can tag it for a class. I've got all of that information available. So you can use this anytime that you are searching for a journal article in a peer-reviewed journal, if you're searching for a book, if you're searching for like a white paper, even a website, it will save all of that information for you. So it is a fabulous resource, right? And here's just more information, what I just went through, right? That you can use Zotero to make your bibliography. And then as a final step, you get to figure out what you want to do with all of the free time that you have saved, because now you do not have to laboriously go through and make sure you have all of the correct citations. I had a student who was working on a capstone project for an international studies minor, and she said that she spent 2 days working on her citations for her capstone paper. That is 2 days that she could have saved and done anything else besides just focus on writing citations. So my hope in presenting this to you is that you try to use Zotero for the project for this class. If it doesn't work, the Murphy Library is a great resource where you can go and you can ask a reference librarian for help. And as I mentioned in those slides, Zotero actually has a very robust help page that has a lot of, let's go back to it real quick. All right, so a lot of information if you are having problems, either installing it, like issues with the data, with saving from websites, right? Like lots of information that's available to you. So that is all that I wanted to record. I hope that this has been beneficial to you. And if you have any questions, just let me know.